Good evening to all the undead ghouls and monsters. We are your horror hosts for tonight's Last Rites. My name is Brandon Brown, and always with me is my co-host,
Ollin Hernandez.
And tonight we are bringing you Exorcism movies and The Exorcist. So this is basically a list that we've compiled of movies that have to do with exorcisms in them, and then also the actual Exorcist series. Hey, there's my first one. The Exorcist also spun off a TV series. There is a additional movie that spun off a TV series that we'll talk about. And there's also a comic book that Ollin will talk to us about, and that also spun off a TV series, which I'll talk about. As for he read this comic series, and I watched the TV, just the first season, which is a 2-season part, but we'll get to that later. And yeah, so we'll have to get underway then. So I guess if we went in chronological order, it started with The Exorcist, 1973.
That's right.
You said that you were reading the book too, weren't you?
Yeah, I started reading the book on PDF. Pretty easy to find on the internet. Pretty much frame by frame to the movie. Very, very similar, word by word, almost.
Yeah, I was going to ask how that played out. If it was very close to the book or if it was just completely off.
I've only read like a third of it so far, but so far it's pretty much the same thing.
Nice.
Very true adaptation.
Yeah. How do they perceive Reagan? That is the little girl who was possessed, played by Linda Blair.
In the novelization, or the novel rather, she's pretty much the same. Just like they do a little emphasis on the nature of her, the closeness to her closeness to nature, and how pure, like a sign of purity, and how innocent she is, and a lot of it is symbolized by her affinity to animals, and she's really good with the innocence of an animal, and how she relates to nature in general, which I think Linda Blair also portrays very well.
Nice. So this series, The Exorcist, actually spun off a multiple amount of sequels, both as in sequels and prequels. And then it also spun off a television series back in 2016 on Fox, which only had 2 seasons. But like I said, as we were going in order here, we'll start with just the Exorcist series. The first one came out in 73, and then we have The Exorcist 2, titled The Heretic, which came out in 77. I just recently watched this, and it didn't really grab me. I didn't really like it too much. I understood kind of the story that they were going with, which was kind of unique, I guess, for 1977. But watching it as today, it really was kind of, it seemed like a filler movie. It's like they said, oh, well, we have the expenses for a sequel, so let's throw this together and then put it out. At least that's how I felt. What do you think?
Yeah, it's no surprise that the original team was not on board for this second installment, right? The director of the first one, William Friedkin, wanted nothing to do with it. Ellen Bernstein was out. She did not want to reprise her role. And the writer himself of the novels, William Peter Blatty, wanted nothing to do with the sequel either. The only one that came on board was Linda Blair.
Well, that's kind of, to me, that speaks volumes that it was either such a poor story that nobody wanted anything to do with it or to be attached to it. And, obviously her being a young person wanting to get as much, I guess, fame as possible, thought, well, if I'm in the sequel, at least I'll still be relevant. I can't speak for her, but that's how I see it.
Yeah, the reception from accounts that I've read People were laughing in the theater, did not take it seriously. It was just a shit show from the beginning. They actually attempted re-release after the initial release of the movie, and they wanted to do like a re-edit to like make it better before more people would watch it, and then pull out that initial edit and release that second edit. But by then, word of mouth had already gotten out, and people just were not cool with it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they had a lot of what would be the word for it? Like some kind of holdback, like technical issue because of the overlapping that you can see, like how it looked like they were overlapping, the film. So they were showing, the actual film that they were. So the priest, who was the priest for the movie, and then Linda Blair's character were in a room, and they're doing this trance thing with this machine that spins that they're like staring at.
It was called the hypnosis synchronizer, which was
the synchronizer. That's
it looks so goofy. It looked like something they put together with parts from like Circuit City or something.
Yeah, it totally looked like last minute. They're like, man, we need to have something that like ties this movie together, and let's quickly make something.
Father Philip Lamont, played by Richard Burton, who apparently was a very famous actor way back when.
Yeah, Richard Burton is an awesome actor, but it seemed like he was maybe on hard times to go on, or maybe he thought he was going to make this film something, like Max Sydow, but it just I don't know.
What I heard was he was going through a divorce at the time.
Probably just needed something to preoccupy himself.
He probably just needed the money.
Yeah. So as I was saying, they're both in a room, and they're basically in this like hypnotic trance to relive Reagan's exorcism. It seemed like going back and trying to find out what really happened and what caused the one father to have the heart attack, and and look for answers basically. But like as they were doing that, you can see like ghost stills of the first Exorcism movie, or maybe it was it could have been re-recordings of those scenes. But since she's a little bit older, they kind of had to heavy up the makeup. But from what I could tell, it looked like they were overlapping the films because the technology wasn't there yet. So it was really weird just seeing that, like how they're trying to force that imagery onto you.
Yeah, Linda Blair actually refused to do the hours and hours of makeup that it took for the first film, and they had somebody else actually do the monster version of Reagan, the possessed version. And in this second one, it was really weird because the way they explain it is that there was a bunch of possessions of like people who were able to actually revert the possession and do good things like healing things, and she, Reagan, was one of these people who were able to have like these supernatural powers that negated the demon Pazuzu and things like that. But it just, I don't know, it was a good idea. It just the execution, it didn't convince me.
Yeah, that seems like a reach. That's weird.
Yeah, you had characters like Dr. Gene Tuscan who were in there, and I didn't understand exactly why.
Oh man,
they're just sort of there for no reason.
Yeah, like they were just screaming that person's name, like Gene.
Yeah,
and it was just like so irritating. Oh man.
Sharon comes back. She was the assistant, her mother's assistant, Chris McNeil's assistant. She comes back for some reason, and all that happens is that she gets hurt by the demon at the end. If you remember, she gets burned.
Yeah.
And that was the only reason they brought back this character. we did have an appearance by James Earl Jones, who plays a character named Kokuma, which in the beginning starts off as like some sort of witch doctor that's dressed like a locust or something. But then it is revealed that he's an insect researcher, and he's the one that gives you the whole explanation about the locusts and how there's locusts who are actually like good locusts who combat the bad locusts, and that was the relationship that's Reagan was supposed to be one of these good locusts that battles the bad locusts.
That's weird symbolism.
And yeah,
to use.
This was 1977, so that was the same year that Star Wars was released. And so when I saw the James Earl Jones character, he delivers his lines exactly like Darth Vader, and it sort of took me out of the movie because I could not stop hearing Darth Vader in a weird Exorcist movie. You know, it was the same year.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, we spent a lot of time on that one. So yeah, that was just, I don't know. It was not I personally did not like it, and you know, it just wasn't it. It wasn't good for me. So they came out with a third movie quite a few years later in 1990, Exorcist 3, Dominion, and this one was what was it?
No, Exorcist 3 is Legion.
Oh, Legion, not Dominion. Sorry, I'm getting them mixed up. Legion, yeah, and that was off the book, right?
Yeah. So
they wrote The Exorcist, and then they had a sequel to it called Legion.
Right.
And that's what this movie was based off on.
Initially, William Peter Blatty wanted the movie to have very little relation to the first Exorcist movie and just called it Legion. But obviously, the studios needed to promote this thing, and I guess you can understand in marketing they needed to add The Exorcist to it. So that's how they released it. He directs it. He writes it. He directs it. He actually got an Oscar for best adapted screenplay that year. And yeah, it's pretty much, many people consider it the actual sequel to the first Exorcist movie.
Yeah, see, it's got some good actors in it. It's got George C. Scott, Jason
Amazing.
Miller.
He was Patton in Patton.
Yeah, he was really good in that. Brad Dourif, the voice of Chucky. Like, this is early on,
so
90s
good.
for him. Nancy Fish, I know her from quite a few movies. So it's got a pretty good cast. A couple actors. Nico Williamson, he was a good character actor.
Father Morning, yeah.
Ed Flanders, which is always a funny name.
Yeah, he plays Father Dyer, who was actually played in the first one, if I'm not mistaken, by William O'Malley, who was an actual priest at the time, but he refused to. He didn't want to come back for the role because of problems that they had on set.
So they recasted the character with him.
Yeah.
And then Scott Wilson, we all know him from Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it looks like I had a good cast. This was one I didn't get to revisit, even though I have it. I didn't get a chance to watch it because I kind of jumped from Exorcist 2 to The Exorcist the beginning. But I bypassed this one because you said you read the book, or you're reading it?
No, I'm reading the original Exorcist. I haven't got to the to Legion yet, but it's definitely on the queue.
I must have thought you were reading that at the same time too, for some reason. Did you watch this one?
Yeah, I actually I'd forgotten about this one. I do remember not liking 2 a long time ago, and Exorcist 3 was one of the ones that I watched it and for some reason forgot it. It's really good, in my opinion. I really enjoyed it. It was a really good surprise. It has a completely different tone because it's more of a detective story, detective mystery of like these murders that are happening, and it's based on the Gemini killer, played by Brad Dourif. All these killings are happening, and the one thing that they notice is that they happen exactly the same as the profile killings of the Gemini killer, who had been killed, had been executed years prior. He died exactly the same night that Father Karras kills himself to save Reagan. And the way they explain it is that the spirit, the Pazuzu demon, in vengeance, transfers the spirit of the Gemini killer into Father Karras's body. So he dies, but he doesn't die because he is possessed by another entity, another spirit, facilitated by Pazuzu. Not Pazuzu himself, but facilitated by Pazuzu.
Weird.
So Father Karras spends time in the loony bin, and he all this time he's been there. So when the Lieutenant William Kinderman gets to him, he's the one that discovers that it's actually the spirit of the killer occupying the body of his friend, Father Karras.
Interesting. Yeah, I definitely am going to have to watch that probably tonight or tomorrow, sometime this weekend.
Yeah, I'm watching, man. An extra bit of creepiness. This movie is reported to be Jeffrey Dahmer's favorite movie.
Nice.
So, there you go.
Little added bonus.
He would even, Jeffrey Dahmer would wear like these contact lenses to make himself look like Father Karras' demon-possessed form in the movie. Those weird like yellow eye contacts.
Wow.
Yeah, and he would do that to look himself like, make himself look more demonic or whatever.
Some people. Guess that was cosplay before it was cosplay.
Right.
All right, so following that movie, in 2004, they released Exorcist: The Beginning. This is a supposed prequel to The Exorcist. This stars Stellan Skarsgård, who plays Father Merrin, or a young version of Father Merrin.
Yeah.
So the synopsis of this is years before Father Merrin helped save Reagan's soul, he first encounters the demon Pazuzu in East Africa. And this is the telling of that encounter between them. I watched this one years ago when it first came out. I haven't revisited it. I have all of them because Kevin, our pirate, has downloaded all these movies for us. But I thought for some reason it was still fresh in my mind because every time I see stills of it and I think of, oh, I remember that scene. I remember, and then like now I'm drawing a blank. I can only remember the scenes from the stills that I see, but like to explain the movie, I would have to rewatch it. Did you watch any of these, the two prequels?
I had never seen this movie before, and I watched it last week. Anything with Stellan Skarsgård is going to be a good movie.
Oh yeah, I love him. My favorite out of context. My favorite movie with him is where he plays one of the what do they call themselves? He looked like a Viking, but in the movie King Arthur with Clive Owen, he plays one of the Northmen that were in England, and like the way he presented himself, like he's fully bearded and long hair, and I mean he looks like a fucking ass kicker. I mean he looks like you put a sword in his hand, he's gonna just brutally murder some people of that, back in the day of that era. But
I recently liked his role in Andor.
Oh,
he plays
yeah,
Luthen. Really good.
Yeah. That's such a good movie. Just out of the world. Like I love this guy.
Yeah.
His entire family.
Yeah, his kids are good actors.
Yeah,
too.
all the Skarsgård. It's like they all just fell out of the acting tree.
Yeah, totally.
So Exorcist: The Beginning, and they have a prequel to that in the next, which basically came out the next year in 2005. Dominion, which is where I had it mistaken with Legion, but they call this one Dominion, the prequel to The Exorcist, also starring Stellan Skarsgård as Father Merrin.
I was confused about that one. Is that supposed to be the same movie, but re-edited, or I've never seen Dominion, to be honest, but I did see the beginning, and
To me, it feels like it was an add-on. You know, like they weren't quite done with the beginning, and then so they're like, oh, we've got more to show you or tell you.
okay,
So they came out with this one, is how I perceived it, because that I've never seen it either. I only saw the beginning in the theater, and I never saw Dominion. By the time I got around to want to go see it, it was already out of the theaters, and 2005, you had to wait like months before it came out on DVD.
yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah, because there was no download at the time.
But I watched it last week, and I really liked it. It really adds to the mythos of the Pazuzu, and the relationship that Father Marin has with the demon Pazuzu, who is depicted as this really weird creature with wings and the head of a dog, and he has a snake for a penis, and which kind of explains his affinity, his sexualizing of his possessions, and how he's always very crass and blasphemous in his possessions.
Yeah, so I guess where they get the term "dirty demon."
Yeah.
Okay, and then last in the Exorcist series, will actually be this year, 2023. It's just called The Exorcist, but it's being put out by Blumhouse. So similar, like how they did Halloween, except for not calling it John Carpenter's Halloween, they just called it Halloween, and it was put out in 2018. So people just associate it and call it Halloween 2018.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming they might do the same thing with this one, Exorcist 2023, which would kind of suck. But
no.
they also are saying that this is a sequel to the original Exorcist. So Ellen Burstyn is reprising her role, which when I found out about this, I was like, I didn't see pictures of anybody. I just saw names, and it didn't even like register when I saw her name. You actually brought it up to me. You're like, oh no, yeah, she's from the original, so she's reprising her role.
Yeah, Chris McNeil.
So it's got Leslie Odom Jr., who's going to be the main actor in it, along with her, and it's the possession of his child, and she comes to, I guess, aid, kind of, I'm guessing, walking him through it. Like, don't worry, the priests will, exorcise her and give you back your child, but that's pretty much as far as I know. Is that his child is possessed, and he needs to have an exorcism, and she's there to aid in whatever she's, I guess, doing for the movie. But it's set for a October 13th release this year, 2023. And yeah, like I said, David Gordon Green, who directed the Blumhouse Halloweens, is directing this one. So it's really kind of up in the air, especially like the first two Halloweens me and Ollin really liked, and that last one just really left a bad taste in our mouth. Yeah, so we're just really kind of finger crossing that this movie will live up to expectations of the Exorcist franchise. And then, like I said earlier, when I was announcing what we were going to be podcasting today, Exorcist had a TV show from 2016.
This is a reminder.
And like I said earlier, when I was describing what we were going to be podcasting today, The Exorcist spawned out a TV series from 2016 to 2017 on Fox. It was 2 seasons. This one I thought was pretty well done for television at the time. it had a lot of good jump scares to it for TV, and
So this was released on TV. It wasn't like
yeah, TV,
cable or
yeah, not cable, TV,
Okay.
TV. So I mean, obviously there was no cussing, so
Yeah.
that kind of
Interesting.
it kind of put a wrench in a little bit, but everything that it was done for it, like the recording and the dialogue and how it was, whoever wrote the series, like whoever wrote each episode, did a very good job. They did it very well for TV. They, there was enough in there for innuendo and for a little bit of deep thought of, like, oh, I see what they're kind of referencing, because they wanted to be a little nasty, but because it's television and it was television during 16, 17, they weren't quite apt to having curse words like they are now.
Yeah.
They have a full like array of curse words that they can say on television now, opposed to like back then they couldn't. I think you could say ass, and that was really it, and that was kind of a faux pas. Like everyone's, oh, he just said ass.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I only watched the first season. I didn't get a chance to see the second season, but the first season had Gina Davis, great movie actress.
Yeah.
She played the mom, and then Alan Ruck, he played. What was his character's name? He was in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He was Ferris's best friend. But he's a good character actor too. I've seen him in quite a few movies. He was in the Young Guns too. That was a good role for him. And just a plethora of movies. But yeah, they played the parents, and they had two girls, and then one of the girls was the girl who was possessed, and then they had a father figure who came in to do the exorcism. And it looks like it was a similar storyline for season 2. They didn't use the same family. They have a different cast. So it looked like they're trying to do some kind of like anthology for the TV series, but it only went 2 seasons, and then I don't know if it got it says it got canceled. Fox canceled it, but at least it got 2 seasons. It didn't just get the old 1 season and then get the axe. So. But yeah, if you can find it, I'm still having Kevin try to see if he can find it, because I definitely want you to watch it. I thought it was really good for just public television, non-cable show.
Yeah, I totally give it a stab.
But so that's the Exorcist series for the movies, and the prequels, and then the television series. Oh, and the Blumhouse. I wouldn't say it's a remake, but the new Blumhouse sequel to the original Exorcist. Moving on, these are going to be our list of movies with exorcisms in them. Some of these I've never even heard of.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Yeah, so it's it's like my favorite word. Okay, so starting with 1974, there is a movie called Abby. This is the American blaxploitation horror film. Looks like they went from Blackula to Abby. Looks like this film is about a woman who is possessed by what is that? Yorbara sex spirit. So I assume that was kind of a thing with those type of movies from like the 70s and the 60s, like the exploitation and blaxploitation movies. They had some kind of like sin and sex like intertwined with them. An archaeologist tries to get rid of a minister's wife from a spewing demon that they dug up in Nigeria. That's really it. Like I said, I've never even heard of this movie. 1975, Exorcism, The Return of the Exorcist. This one to me seems like it was a grab. Nope. Sorry, that was my bad. Just Exorcism, and then Exorcismo. I mean, it's not even how you pronounce it.
Yeah, I think Exorcismo, yeah.
Exorcismo is another way to pronounce it, probably in different regions around the world. A young woman unwillingly participates in a satanic ritual and is possessed by her late father.
Whoa.
1975. That's that's crazy. So then I got the mix up here, and then 1975 also put out a movie called The Return of the Exorcist. Yeah. So that's the grab. To me, that seems like it was the grab because people, I'm sure, went to the theaters thinking that this had something to do with the original movie. Especially like diehards who are like, oh yeah, I remember the Exorcist. You know, they put out a sequel, great, which was put out before The Exorcist 2, 2 years beforehand.
Oh yeah, they jumped on it real quick.
Yeah. An archaeology student photographs a mysterious naked woman by a waterfall, unaware that she is a female demon called Hagia, who soon takes possession of him with a cursed amulet. So,
yeah, looking at this list, I'm seeing like a lot of carbon copies and trying to, again, like the studios are going to do, just try to cash in on the Exorcist franchise.
Yeah. So then, obviously, we talked about the Exorcist series, but then there's a big jump from movies that have exorcisms in them that weren't part of the series. So 1975 jumps right to 1990. And 1990, this one's more of a comedy, but it's still in the horror category, is Repossessed. And this one has Linda Blair, who played Reagan in the original Exorcist, playing a character who was possessed when she was younger and is now being repossessed, which is weird because when I saw it, she was basically repossessed by a demon through the television.
Yeah.
But it has Leslie Nielsen in it, so it's, you know,
super funny.
Definitely got lots of laughs.
And it was 1990, same year Exorcist 3 was released as well.
Yeah.
Same year.
So that is funny. Moving on from that is 1990, a little movie called Stigmata. This one stars Patricia Arquette, Gabriel Byrne, Ann Cusack, Jonathan Pryce, Nia Long. So this one has a pretty good cast in it. I actually thought it was a really good movie. I saw this in the theater when it first came out because I'm a huge Patricia Arquette fan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Back in my Lost Highway days, she was just awesome. And then jumping to the next year, in 2000, is a movie called Possessed. And this movie has Timothy Dalton in it. It was a made-for-television horror movie, looks like. And it was put out on Showtime. So back in the day, Showtime used to be, and HBO, they used to be kind of a big deal. So if they had a TV movie made for either of those stations, you know, it was kind of a thing. It was almost like one step below from being a theater release. So that's how good of quality it was. But this one is a struggling post-traumatic stress disorder from World War II. A Jesuit priest must perform an exorcism on a boy in 1950s St. Louis. Moving on from that, from 2000 to 2003, is The Exorcism of Emily Rose. This one was probably one of the first movies of the 90s that gave me a pretty good jump scare, just from some of the scenes like that were in the barn. It was, and then like her whole like, what was it, 6 demon possession?
Yeah.
That she had. She like multiple demons in her, where, you know, she would count them off, and it was like that was a little bit creepy at the time.
Yeah, the way she contorts her body. In
Oh
these
yeah,
scenes,
yeah.
she
The
was really-
contortion was just wild.
It had a really good cast too. Laura Linney was in it. Tom Wilkinson playing the priest, and it was a really interesting approach because it was more of a jury drama
Yeah.
with horror elements in it, and it was very well weaved in. It was seamlessly weaved in.
Yeah, it had Jennifer Carpenter as Emily Rose. You know her from the Dexter fame.
Right. She was also in this other, I think it's a zombie movie, Quarantine. Did you ever see that one?
No, I think we were discussing that before.
Yeah. We might have mentioned this movie before, but yeah, she was in that too.
Same year, 2005, Constantine with Keanu Reeves. This is one of my favorites. Definitely a different version of Constantine from the DC Comics Constantine.
Yeah, a non-British one.
Yeah, and a non-British one at that, which we'll discuss when we get to the television series. So this was one of the other shows that spun off a television series.
Also a really good cast. Rachel Weisz, Tilda Swinton, Peter Stormare, and Shia LaBeouf.
Old Shia LaBeouf. Yeah, Peter Stormare, he played Lucifer, did an outstanding job. Oh, man. This guy's portrayal of Lucifer I thought was so good.
Yeah, with a white suit and everything. It was excellent.
Looks like we got some people. We got a dino shop across the street, so they're like revving up cars.
Are they racing out there?
No, they're just they test out these engines and to make sure like they're running at specific RPMs and like like these cars now are all electronic, so they can adjust the chips and they can change the gas ratio and air ratio, and they're basically they're fine tuning it to be a race car.
Interesting.
Yeah, but it's annoying because they just pick the in-up times to do this shit. So, anyways, yeah. So Constantine, Keanu Reeves, I thought was a great movie. Definitely a good story. And like I said, the name itself spun off a TV series. So in 2014, it came out with a TV series starring Matt Ryan. He was kind of a little bit of an unknown in the U.S., but he's a British actor, and he was more closely to the comic than Keanu Reeves' character was.
Yeah, even the way he looks, the blonde hair and everything.
Yeah, and like he dressed the part and everything, just was everything about him. Like even from his quirks to his one-liners, and his attitude. Everything was just spot on. This only had one season, which was unfortunate. It was on NBC, also regular television, not cable. I think if it was on cable, I think it would have done better. But Matt Ryan, the one thing about him is that he did such a phenomenal job as the character that when the CW was doing their Arrowverse, they had Legends of Tomorrow. So they basically took a lot of these characters that were on all the superhero shows and who did like one-offs or were super popular, for a little bit on the shows. And they're like, well, we should group them together and give them their own show. And then a couple seasons went by for that show. And then there was a lot of talk about bringing a Constantine character. And when that hit, like people were just like losing their shit. They're just like, Matt Ryan has to be Constantine.
Yeah.
And so they casted him back as John Constantine and put him on the show. And so the show went from being kind of a superhero-esque to being more like superhero occult.
Yeah.
So they had a lot of that intrigue. And then I didn't watch a lot of it, so I don't know if Swamp Thing was brought into it, but I know he's part of the lore with all of that.
Right. Yeah, I've been saying for years that hopefully the DC does something with horror and bring Justice League Dark with Deadman and Zatanna. It would be really great to see those characters.
Yeah, and Constantine was part of that too.
Yeah.
And yeah, because they have the animated Justice League Dark, but yeah, they should definitely do a live action. That would be super cool. And I could totally see Matt Ryan still being Constantine in that. He's one of those actors that, you know, when they play a role, you knew that role was meant for them.
Yeah.
And there's like a handful of people out there that are like that, and he's one of them. So, I don't know. We spent a lot of time on that. So yeah, Constantine, and then Constantine Television. If you get a chance to watch it, watch it. I'll see if the Dread Pirate Kevin can download that as well. I think you would totally enjoy it. It was super cool. From 2005, from Constantine Keanu Reeves to 2006, was a movie called Possession of Gail Bowers. Oh, no. Had the word exorcism in it. Exorcism, the Possession of Gail Bowers.
That's right.
This one has a lot of people I don't recognize or even recognize their name. Erica Robbie, Griff First, Noel Thurman, Thomas Downing, David Shriek, and Jeff Denton. So don't know anything about that. Looks like it was a direct to DVD, but it was made by the company Asylum. So they're the ones who did the Sharknado, right?
Oh, okay. So it's
one of those.
one of those movies.
Yeah, which, on a side note, super funny about Sharknado is I showed you the picture like last week, or it was the other week. They're moving on from Sharknado to now they're doing Meth Gator.
Meth Gator.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna have a gator on meth and a bear on cocaine.
That's right.
This year.
I guess because Cocaine Bear did really good, Asylum wanted to jump on that, and they're like, well, we could do one better than that. We'll do Meth Gator. But the funny picture is, or the funny thing about it is, the picture of the gator still has all his teeth. So not sure how much meth he's done yet.
Next thing, we're gonna have a shark on acid or something. I don't know.
An octopus on acid.
Oh, that would be great.
Okay, so next is also in 2006. This one is called Blackwater Valley Exorcism. This one has also a cast of people I've never heard of or even seen before. Randy Colton, Jeffrey Combs, James Russo, Don Knowlton, Del Zamora, Cameron Dado. A disturbing tale of demonic possession. Isabel is locked in a fierce battle with the demon hell-bent on ravaging her soul. Only a priest with troubles of his own can free her from her torment. So a normal priest couldn't do anything for her, but a fucked up priest is going to be able to save her soul, is what they're saying. Weird. Okay. Next is Legion, the Final Exorcism. So this could also be one of those ones that people, if not, properly told about, they could think that this would be part of the Exorcist series.
Yeah, especially because they use the word legion.
Yeah, right? and then the Final Exorcism. That's sounds like it was like, oh, well, maybe it was the next Exorcist movie after 3.
This is the ending, the end to that other ending that we got.
Yeah, this one has some names I do know, like obviously Rowdy Piper. He was in it. His daughter, Ariel Teal Toombs, which Roddy Piper's real name is, his last name is Toombs. David Hevenier, Davida Hevenier. So it looks like there's a lot of like father-daughter combinations in here. Jacqueline Oliver, Lee Benton. So a couple of these people, I have no idea who they are. I've never seen them before or heard of them. But like I said, some of these people I do know who they are and have seen them in previous films. Especially Roddy Piper. You know, he's no stranger to horror. Next on the list, jumping from 2006 to 2009, is The Unborn. This movie has a really good cast as well. Odette Annabelle, she plays the lead role. Gary Oldman is in it. He plays a rabbi. So I guess he's the father figure character, priest, for the movie. I'm gonna butcher this guy's name. Cam Giannette. He's a good character actor. If you saw his face, you'd recognize him. If you've watched a lot of different TV. Actress named Megan Good, Idris Elba. Everybody obviously knows who he is. And then Atticus Schaefer. People would know him from the TV series The Middle. If you watch that.
Yeah, he was a Disney actor too for a long time, wasn't he?
Oh, was he in Disney?
Like Disney Channel type shows.
Oh, okay.
I remember him.
I just remember his character on that show. He was really weird because he would talk to himself and then he would answer himself.
Yeah.
So he was kind of a little special kid, a little different, but still is a pretty good show. He's a pretty good actor. So yeah, it's pretty good. Got a pretty good cast.
James Remar was in it too.
I didn't. Oops. Oh, and then Cara Gugino. Is that how you
Right.
pronounce her name?
Yeah.
From Sin City. Who I was getting confused with, what's her name? Gina Carano.
Oh, no, different.
Yeah, I remember we had that conversation. Yeah, so she's also in it. So the synopsis of this is Odette's character is Casey, who is a young woman who is paranoid after becoming a centerpiece in a series of supernatural and strange events. So, and she kind of sees she's seeing a lot of spirit of an unborn child, in the mirror mostly. At least that's how the cover of the movie portrays. But I know she sees a lot of that throughout the film. Kind of like what they do in most horror movies. They foreshadow some things this way, so the person will see something or is hallucinating about it, and they turn to see if the person is actually there, and obviously they're not. So moving on from the next year, from 2009 to 2010, is Exorcismus, which in another name it has is La Posesión de Emma Evans. So in a different region, I guess it has a different name. Sophia Vasviris, Vavasseur plays Emma, of the title character Emma Evans in this. Possessed by a demon, a teenager turns to her cleric uncle to perform an exorcism. So it looks like originated in Spain, so I'm sure that La Posesión de Emma Evans is probably its original name, and then here in the States they had to give it a different name.
Interesting name, Exorcismus.
Yeah, it's
I'm not.
it's not familiar to you,
No, is that supposed to be Latin or something?
yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Like a dead language.
Same year, 2010, The Last Exorcism. So this one I just watched recently and was not a fan of it. Although, so this movie spawned a sequel. So there's The Last Exorcism and The Last Exorcism 2, which came out in 2013. So we'll kill both of these right now. So Last Exorcism was one of those documentary-esque found footage movies. So I'm guessing maybe somewhere about the time with Blair Witch, or maybe a little after Blair Witch. They kind of were playing with like someone documenting, what was going on, and also like it was found, like they found it to watch, what this guy was documenting.
I believe Blair Witch Project was 1999, so this was literally a year after.
Or 10
years after.
10 years. So
the actress Ashley Bell actually did a good job. That was the only thing that I was able to salvage from that movie. And it started interestingly with the whole found footage thing, but it as it went on, it leaked out sort of.
Yeah, I mean, out of the two movies, I like this one a lot better.
Yeah, the first one, especially the first act.
But yeah, towards the very end, and kind of like what was going on at the very end with the whole, I mean, I wouldn't call it druid thing, but it was like, or sacrifice. It looked like more of a sacrifice with the fire, and then everybody like in a circle.
Yeah, there's a cult going in that
there you
town.
go. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. A cult. Yeah, so it's like everybody was part of it. So this cleric father figure, was basically doing a documentary on whether or not he really believed in exorcism or not. But what he was basically saying is that he wasn't, so much doing an exorcism, but he was performing a service for a person to, help their mentality, kind of give them a peace of mind. Make them, I guess, make them think that that they were cleansed or clear or saved, and that way they can move on with their life.
Yeah, sort of like a placebo effect exorcism.
Yeah, exactly.
He was mostly a charlatan,
yeah,
but in his mind, he was providing this service where people would come away better. But he staged a lot of his quote unquote exorcisms.
Yeah, and he was basically trying to prove that Ashley Bell's character, Nell, wasn't possessed, that she was just doing everything herself, that she was acting the part. Maybe because she either heard of him and his doings, or maybe he thought that, she was just, it was a cry for attention.
Yeah, but then in the second movie, the way the first movie ends is that there's this whole cult going on, and she's supposed to be pregnant, and the child is like a child of like the devil or something, and they just leave it at that. They extract the baby and do their ritual, and she's just traumatized by this. And in the second movie, she's basically the only character that comes back. Her and her father in like a weird cameo, where he's more like a spirit, or maybe he's a figment of her imagination and her trauma. It wasn't clear to me exactly what that was, but in the end, the possession, she pretty much gives in to the demon and decides to just be possessed.
Yeah. So in the I guess the connection I was making with Blair Witch was because like the first one was found footage, like Blair Witch. The second one was recorded as an actual movie.
Yeah,
like
they did none of that. They did away with the entire premise. Yeah.
Yeah, they just completely did away with that in the second movie for this last Exorcism as well. So it was just like a whole new story. She was basically found. She was put into like a home with other girls to find work and try to rebuild her life. They're in New Orleans, so it's very heavily with rituals and lore and things like that. So she can't obviously get away from things, but there's little things in the movie that are happening that kind of give you like some foreboding of what's going to happen towards the end, or that that the thing is still looking for her or hunting for her. Especially with that one dude, the gold, like the gold mime, like the little things that he was doing, like as he kept following them, like he kept leaving his area where he was at, and he would follow them, and then he would like have the little sayings and things that just made no sense to anybody but her.
Yeah, and there was this character played by Julia Garner, who I thought she had some sort of possession going, or she was part of it, but then they just forget about that character at the very end.
It's like the Halloween kills or Halloween ends effect.
Yeah, it didn't. Both of these movies it started out good, but they ended up owing me a lot at the very end.
Oh, excuse me. So, blah blah blah. Jumping from 2010 to 2011, Annalise, the Exorcist tapes, was put out. Where's the synopsis? A young woman suffers from a mysterious ailment, and paranormal and phenomenal plagues her house until a priest arrives to perform an exorcism. Also done by Asylum. So this could be also one of those, like, in the style of like Sharknado. Like the cinematography in those were not great. So they seemed more of like handy cam, like movie. At least the first couple of them. I think they got better budgets for like the later Sharknados, but a lot of the stuff from Asylum just seems like it's, you know, like they had just got their hands on the Canon XL or the XL2 and were filming with that and not using a good lens, just using the standard lens that came with it. So it looked more video.
No filters, no.
Yeah.
Just
Same year, 2011, Season of the Witch. This one is a Nicolas Cage movie. Has Nicolas Cage, Ron Perlman, Claire Foy, Robert Sheehan. Who else is in this that I would know?
Christopher Lee.
Christopher Lee's in it?
It's he's in the
In the credits?
he's in the cast credits. Rory McCann, who was he played the dog in the Game of Thrones series.
I never saw that, so it's on my bucket list. Stephen Graham, he's a character actor. I know him. His face is familiar. So this one is his faith is broken by many years of fighting in the Crusades. A knight named Bayman returns to Europe to find that it's ravaged by the Black Plague. A dying cardinal orders Bayman and his friend Felsom, who is played by Ron Perlman, to take an accused witch to a remote abbey where the monks will destroy her. Destroy her power. And end the pestilence. So they obviously think that she's the cause of the Black Plague. As Bayman and the 5 comrades undertake the dangerous journey, they come to realize that the prisoner is no ordinary girl, and evil forces await at the destination. And this one was a big release in the theater. I didn't see it in the theater. I've only seen bits and pieces of it passing through, like, you know, when you're looking for a show on cable, and so this will be on, and I'll like watch 5 minutes of it and be like either not interested. Most of the time I wasn't interested. It just looked very good, so I just pass it. But every time I would turn it on, it was always a different part of the movie. I'm like, oh, I haven't seen this part yet.
Yeah.
But I had no idea if it was in the beginning or if it was in the end, or even the middle. So just not sure what parts they were. Did you see this one?
No, I've never seen Season of the Witch. It must have been one of those movies that I passed because, oh, it's Nicolas Cage. It must be one of his another one of his B movies. Better skip it. But now I'm revisiting a lot of those not old, but like the last 10, 15 years of Nicolas Cage. I'm watching a few of those, just because it's Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, I think the last thing I mean I've seen more movies now with Nicolas Cage in it, but like the last movie I actually saw with him in the theater was Con Air. And,
Okay,
and
yeah.
that was kind of a little bit of hard to swallow, just the southern accent that he had and the character that he was playing. Like he was all laid back, and it was like, oh, I'm gonna do my prison time, and I'm gonna go see my family, and but in the meantime, I'm gonna just keep low and keep to myself, but if danger arises, I'm gonna kick its ass. So it was just kind of it was a hard movie to swallow. It was fun, it was entertaining, but I was just like, okay.
I'm
is
slowly
Nicolas
regaining
Cage.
an appreciation for Nicolas Cage.
Same year, in 2011, The Rite. This has Anthony Hopkins in it. He plays Father Lucius. Colin O'Donnell, Marta Gastini, Alice Braga, Tori DeVito, Clarion Hines. This one, through his filled with doubt about the subject, seminary student Michael Kovac finds he must attend the Vatican School of Exorcism, believing possession to be the work of a troubled mind rather than actual demons. He'll urge his superiors to look for answers in the psychiatric. Wow, I can't read. Then Michael becomes the apprentice of Father Lucas. Wow, I'm just mispronouncing things here. Who's played by Anthony Hopkins, a veteran exorcist, and encounters a terrifying force that causes him to question everything that he believes. This is one I asked our pirate to download, but he wasn't able to find it for me. Did you ever see this one?
No, but I'm very interested in this one. Just the fact that Anthony Hopkins is in it, Rutger Hauer is in it, even Franco Nero, the original Django. I really need to watch this movie.
Wow, they're not even like listed on this cast list right here. And Toby Jones. Yeah, the cover is really cool. It's like it's a shadow of a cross, and inside the middle is Anthony Hopkins' face, kind of pushed into it, and underneath it says "The Right." So just from the cover alone, like I would just, and I'm a huge Anthony Hopkins fan, so just, yeah, I see what you're saying. Like just him alone would make me want to watch the movie. And from what I'm reading here on the old interwebs, it says it was based on a book, "The Right: The Making of Modern Day Exorcists." So it wasn't just a movie that was created; it was based off a book. All right. The next year, in 2012, the year that we were supposed to have all died, The Devil Inside. This one was pretty cool. I watched this the other night. This was filmed as like a docu-series. So this woman basically was possessed, or thought to be possessed, killed a priest and his two nuns that went to go exorcise the demon out of her. And instead of putting her into like a psychiatric ward here in the States, they sent her to Vatican City and put her in an institution right outside of Vatican City, so the Vatican can keep an eye on her. But she wasn't deemed, I guess, demonically possessed enough, or showed the right signs for them to actually do an exorcism on her there when they brought her to Italy. So her daughter, years later, wants to find answers. Gets together with this guy who makes documentaries, and decides that now's the time that she's going to go to Italy, go to Vatican City, go see her mom, and then see what kind of answers that she can get on why and what happened, that day. In the process, she befriends two priests, because when she gets there, she goes to the school where they do the exorcisms, and that's where they kind of have the debate going on, like when she walks in the class, where some people think, what they just watched a film that the teacher was presenting to them, and he was asking, is this possession or is this mental illness? And so they were having the debate back and forth between a lot of the people inside there of, some people said, yes, this is possession. Other people said, no, this looks like just mental illness. So she befriends two fathers there, and it's just a crazy just turn of events that happen after that, especially when she goes and sits down with the mom and all the shit that was going on with that. And then they try to do an exorcism themselves with the mom. Did you watch this one?
No, that actually sounds pretty interesting. This one is one of the ones that flew under my radar, honestly.
Yeah, the picture that's on the DVD has the mom. She looks really kind of like dirty, and then she's pulling down her bottom lip, and then inside has an upside down cross on the inside of her lip, where she's like spreading her two fingers, kind of like like people would do to show like they're eating somebody out. So she's showing her upside down cross like in the picture, and that's what's the cover of the DVD. But yeah, the movie itself, like just right after she arrives at Vatican City, it's like a roller coaster. It's just one event after another, just keeps happening, thing after thing after thing, and it's such a good movie. I never saw it when it came out. It came out in 2012. I knew about it, but it was never one of those ones like I needed to see, or I was like, damn, I need to go see this, or I need to buy this. Even working in a movie store, like I never bought it. I kept seeing it and thinking, oh, this would be a cool movie to watch, but never had any gumption to purchase it or want to watch it, until we decided that we were going to do this Exorcism podcast. And then I was like, well, now is the time,
Yeah.
I'll get the pirate to download this for me, and then I'll give it a watch. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, definitely watch it. It's really good. It's one of those surprising ones that you don't think is going to be good, but when you watch it and afterwards, you're just like, fuck.
Yeah, especially because a lot of these actors are people I've never seen before, or if I have, I don't recognize them.
Yeah, I don't recognize any of these people. I don't really remember seeing any of them in any other movies that I've ever seen before. They all look unknown to me, but they all did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, I mean, especially if like they're good actors, the characters are going to be more believable if you don't really recognize their faces from anything else, right?
Yeah. I'm not seeing an attachment to anything else, so it makes it easier for me to, believe.
Immerse yourself. Yeah,
believe who they are.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, that's definitely a recommend. I would give that like 4 stabs out of 5.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. Moving on from that, from 2012 to 2013, speaking of Vatican, is this one's called the Vatican Exorcisms. And this one looks like it's kind of the same storyline, following U.S. filmmaker Joe Mariano, as he heads to Italy to investigate exorcisms and the truth behind the rumors of demonic possession. So maybe not like so much the same story, but kind of along the lines, like what we just discussed on this last movie. I haven't seen this one, but to me, that's what it sounds like. It's another docu-style movie. And this one, the cover is really weird. It has I can't tell if it's a woman or a man, with their hands over their heads, kind of like one of those, like you see in the movies, like the person puts their hands in their heads and they're like, what have I done? That type of motion. This person, I don't know, can't tell. It's all white is the movie cover. It's weird. Oh, there we go. I brought it up. So he looks. I can't tell if it's a man or a woman, but the person looks possessed. It's all white, except for the fingernails and the teeth are yellow, and the eyes are either all white or they're closed, or I don't know. I can't tell. It looks weird. It looks demonic. Moving on from that. Oh, we already talked about the Exorcism Part 2. What is this? Where'd it go? Oh, I lost the pages. That sucks. Okay, anyways. So jumping from that is Exorcism 2014. There's a lot of movies with the word exorcism in them. And I don't really have any information on that. One of the other pages that failed me was Deliver Us from Evil. That was another movie that Kevin, there we go, downloaded. Did you watch this one? This was the second one I watched. I watched The Devil Inside, then I watched this one the next night, Delivers from Evil.
This is the one with Eric Bana in it?
Yeah.
Joel McHale is in it for some reason?
Yeah, Joel McHale is in it. I didn't even know that he was in it until I saw the movie, and I was like, so Eric Bana plays a sergeant, a police sergeant, and Joel McHale is his partner. And then Edgar Ramirez is in it. He plays a kind of priest, I guess, like a fallen priest, but he's trying to redeem himself. And this is based off of a book that this New York sergeant, Ralph Sarchi, wrote. So, and basically the book is on his encounters with supernatural occurrences through his time on the force.
Okay.
And Delivers from Evil was one of the last encounters that he had, where he basically decided that he's going to retire, and just be done with the police force. But he still works with Edgar Ramirez's character, Father Mendoza. So Sarchi still works with him, like in real life. Like they go and through New York, different areas, dealing with supernatural things, which is crazy. Just
so it's based on just a part of, like, the last part of the book, or this is a book written.
This is a
just
book
on this case.
Yeah,
alone?
this is a book written on this case alone, but
Okay.
he's had multiple, I guess, supernatural encounters. And Eric Bana plays the character of that cop. And yeah, it is. It's intense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's especially towards the end. Like it's super intense. It's got a lot of action. It's got a lot of cool visual effects in the movie, and a couple jump scares that definitely like made me jump. I was just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Kind of have to, like, rebalance yourself. You're just like, what the fuck just happened? But yeah, this is another one. Definitely, I would give this a 4 out of 5 stabs as well, just for the psychologicalness. It's definitely a must watch, especially if you're an Eric Bana fan. Even though he played the Hulk in Ang Lee's Hulk,
Yeah.
I still love the guy. Everything that he's been in. Hector is one of my favorite characters that he's played.
And Joel McHale is usually a comedic.
Yeah,
actor.
he's usually a comedic actor, and he has one-liners, and he tries to be
Like the comedic relief of the movie.
Yeah, he tries to be the comedic relief in the movie, but not heavily.
Yeah.
Like he's, I guess, like if you were like in a, not so much like a Kevin Hart and The Rock like cop buddy movie, that kind of thing.
Okay,
But
okay, that dynamic.
yeah,
Sure.
but he has that dynamic with Eric Bana, but as a New York cop, you know, like he's very cynical and things, and but he's not. He's trying to be funny. He's trying to cut the ice, but he still tries. You know, he still shows that he's a badass and he can handle business. You know, he's not the typical like funny man that you normally would see him in, or the asshole. Like one of the last things I saw him in, he was what was that movie? It had Adam Sandler in it, and he was like the dad of the mom that he was trying to date, but he was always trying to be a dick.
He was like the counterpart to the Adam Sandler character.
Yeah. His character, every time he came in to
He would bully him and shit.
not bully him, but like he'd always be like he'd always be the asshole about it. Just like the little encounters that they have, like he'd have something stupid to say or something like that, or he would like act like he was interested in his kid, and then like as soon as like Adam Sandler would leave, like he would just blow his kid off, like, oh, I can't, I gotta go, we can't play catch.
Was Drew Barrymore in it?
Yes.
I think it's called Blended.
Blended.
So you recommend this movie, Deliver Us from Evil?
Yeah, definitely recommend this one, Deliver Us from Evil, 2014.
Right. Another one to put on the queue. It looks like you could watch it on Hulu.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, did he give you a copy of it? I have a copy if you want it.
Okay. Yeah.
If you got your
shoot me
USB.
that copy, man.
Yeah, if you got the USB, I'll put it on there for you.
Absolutely.
Why are these like deleted? So where am I at? Deliver Us from Evil. Okay, 2015. The Exorcism of Molly Hartley. This was a direct-to-video. The Vatican Exorcisms was also a direct-to-video also, but that was put out by Lionsgate, and Lionsgate's a pretty good big company.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that they did direct-to-video like style movies, but this is early 2000 teens, so maybe that was just a thing. Probably like their precursor to download, like put it on video as quick as possible. So 2015, The Exorcism of Molly Hartley, taking place years after the haunting of Molly Hartley. So it looks like we have Possession and then now Exorcism. So this is a sequel. I guess it's a sequel. Is it?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Would make sense. It's the same character. Haunting of Molly Hartley. Yeah. So this is a sequel to The Haunting of Molly Hartley, which is called The Exorcism of Molly Hartley. I cannot talk today. It's horrible. Accused of a murder and confined to mental institution, Molly Hartley falls under the possession of a powerful demonic force as she undergoes a monstrous transformation. A defrocked priest is her only hope of salvation. That seems like to be the story in a lot of these. It's some kind of fucked up priest has to be the savior of the movie or of the person's soul. It's like it can't just be like, oh, this guy just graduated, but we have complete trust in him that he's going to take care of the job.
Yeah.
But no. Father Fuckerby over here, who's a hard drinker and just heavy into pornography, is going to be your salvation.
Yeah.
That was weird.
The only cast member I recognize from this lineup is Devon Sawa.
Yeah.
Everyone else, I don't know who they are.
Sarah Lind, I recognize her. She's a character actor. Yeah, I don't know anybody else here. Diana Latold, Gina Holden, John Core, Peter McNeil. Don't know who any of these people are. Julia Arcos. Yeah. They don't look familiar to me, and I don't recognize their names. So, but yeah, sequel to The Haunting, The Exorcism of Molly Hartley. Next is... Oh, wow, that looks the same. I thought this was the same movie on the Vatican Exorcism, the Vatican tapes.
Yeah, that must be related because the cast is also repeating some of these actors.
Is it now?
Yeah, you got Michael Pena back, Jaimin Hanzu, he's back. Cass Anvar is also back. Yeah, I would wager that these two movies are related. I would have to watch them to make sure, but
Okay, so this has Michael Pena, Olivia Dudley. How do you pronounce his name? Desmond?
I say Jaimin Hanzu is what I say.
Jaimin Hanzu.
I'm probably butchering that. Sorry, Jaimin.
Doug,
Friend of the show.
Doug Ray Scott, Kathleen Robinson, and John Patrick Amadori. He's a character actor. She was big on like the 902, not 90210, Melrose Place, I think. And she was also in the Scary Movie, one or two. No, I think it was two.
Two, yeah.
And Doug Ray Scott, he was just in the Batgirl series on the CW. He was also in this movie on Netflix that had Bill Skarsgård in it, which was a creepy ass like movie or series, but it was like about supernatural like beings and he was the father of one of the girls whose cousin who was cousins to a brother and sister that were had the supernaturalness, and then like he liked Hemlock Grove. It was the name of the series. It was a weird series, and like his daughter was dating the character who was I never got to see him as a wolf, but that's what I swore that he turned into, because it had all the portrayals of him turning into a wolf. Like his clothes were all ripped off, and he like turned into a beast. And yeah, if you get a chance, this is on Netflix.
Hemlock Grove.
Hemlock Grove, and it was produced by Eli Roth. Really cool series, but it was just weird. Really, really, really interesting. But that was the first time I actually saw him in that series. And then after that, it was like, oh, now I recognize him from like all these other movies that I've seen him in. So getting off topic. Next is 2016 Exorcist, The House of Evil. And again, this has a cast I've never seen before or heard of. Mark Holzum, Connor Trainer, Marguerite Kimball. Wow, I'm gonna butcher this name. Matushikla Lindo. I am so sorry. Amy Pinnell, and then Peter Mayer. A young woman returns to her childhood home where an exorcism took place years ago, discovers that the evil still resides there.
Looks like kind of a little bit of a B movie.
That's what it sounds like. But it's a not rated movie either. But this is one of those Blumhouse titles, but like, so Blumhouse has like 3 different like production companies, and this one is called BH Tilt. which is super weird. Summerhill Films and BH Tilt. Yeah, so I guess they had their hands on The Exorcist up, a little before they decided that they were going to do that sequel. Next on the list here, still in 2016, Incarnate. This one has Aaron Eckhart. He's a well-known actor.
Yeah.
Played Harvey Dent, Two-Face in The Dark Knight, and among other movies. He's actually he played Frankenstein's monster in a what was that movie called? There's I'll have to come back to it, but yeah, he did a pretty good job in that. I thought it was gonna be just a total bomb, but it was actually pretty good. David Manzoor, well, not man. Mazuz,
yeah.
Mazuz.
I recognize him from the Gotham.
Yeah, so he was young Bruce Wayne from the Gotham series.
Yeah.
Which is funny for Aaron Eckhart and him to be working together, two former Batman alumni. The next also is Catalina Marino, Caris Van Houten.
Grace Van Houten. Yeah, she was. We've talked about her before. She was the Red Witch in the Game of Thrones series.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, like I said, you've mentioned it, but like I haven't watched any of that. So, MJ Anthony and Matthew Nabel and Carolina Wedra. So some people I recognize, some people I don't. Incarnate is a movie about a scientist with the ability to enter the subconscious minds of the possessed and must save a young boy from the grips of a demon with the powers never seen before. So I've read that this has an exorcism in it. Just doesn't seem like it's a big part of the movie. I think the demonic possession is more of this movie than an exorcism. There might be an exorcism that happens at the end or in the beginning, or I'm not sure. It doesn't actually specify. It just says that he attempts an exorcism in the movie. So, but it made the list. Moving on to the next year, 2017, there is two movies here. This one is also a direct-to-video release. It's Amityville Exorcism. Family puts their faith in a mysterious priest when a demonic force connected to decade-old murders in the house possess their daughter. So looks like they move into the Amityville horror house, possesses a young girl, and now a priest has to perform an exorcism on him. I'm looking for the one where it says he's fucked up in some way, but I don't see that anywhere. Marie DeLonzo, Jeff Kirkendall, Austin Dragovich, Catherine Sue Young, Ken Van Sant, Steve Desparia, and James Carolus. I don't recognize any of these names or recognize any of these people.
Yeah, it looks like one of those movies that.
But again, it was direct to video, so it's obviously a B movie with a bunch of up and coming actors.
Yeah, and just banking on the Amityville name. Yeah. A lot of these Amityville copycats.
So yeah, Amityville Exorcism, and then in the same year, in 2017, American Exorcism.
Yeah.
This one has William McKinley, Michael Filipovich. He looks familiar. I think I've seen him in some other films. Braxton Davis, He looks like a character actor I've seen before. Jennifer Lee Wiggins, never seen her or heard of her. Kate Tumanova, she looks familiar. Her name does not sound familiar, but she looks like a character actor I've seen in a film or two before. And then there's no pictures of these other people. Luke Wright, and then John Paul Sales. Says Damon Richter thought he left the world of possession, exorcisms, and evil behind until an old friend arrives with frightening information. At least that's the synopsis that IMDb is giving. This one says, after a vicious demon is banished from his body, a man is left emotionally and physically damaged. He then realizes that the experience has given him supernatural abilities of his own. So maybe that's what the friend was trying to tell this guy. So, doesn't sound very appealing. Not something I would want to jump to watch. And then you got another American movie. This one's American Exorcist.
American Exorcist.
Yeah. 2018. This is a TV movie.
Yeah.
But this one has Bill Moseley in it. Which
I don't recognize him.
He was in the Texas Chainsaw Massacres. He was Chop Top.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And then he was also in the Rob Zombie trilogy.
Yeah, all of his
the
movies.
House of a Thousand Corpses, where he played what's his face. For a horror person, I am fucking horrible. I don't know any of this shit. Otis B. Driftwood. So he played Otis, who was Baby's brother.
Yeah, it looks like his body of work is mostly just gory horror movies.
Yeah, he's got a plethora of movies. That's for sure. Which, if you see him in real life, like, he looks nothing like any of the characters that he plays, which is crazy.
He's just like a super nice guy in real life.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. Like, I follow him on Instagram, and his daughter posts some really cool stuff. Like, she goes to a lot of the conventions along with him, and just finds just like crazy shit and just posts about it. 2019, a movie called The Cleansing Hour. This one has Kyle Gallner, Ryan Guzman, Alex Angelis, Emma Holzer, Hu Jun-Hu, Heather Morris, and Sam Yeager. A lot of these people are character actors. Like Heather Morris is from that Glee TV show. Kyle Gallner he was just in Smile. He played the cop that was helping out that chick, which I didn't recognize to be Swoozie Bacon, Kevin Bacon's daughter.
Right. The movie Smile?
Yeah, Smile.
Yeah.
And then he was also that asshole that was in Halloween Kills. He was like the asshole town drunk, or I don't know, the guy at the bar, like, who was in the parking lot being a dick. Ryan Guzman, what was he in? He's familiar. Like, I've seen him in stuff, obviously. Sam Yeager, he's a character actor too. This is not loading up. Everybody Wants Some. That's where I've seen him. So, I guess not that big of an actor. Oh, Jim. That's the one I saw him in. So he plays the love interest that Jim is falling for. Who she's what's the fuck is her name? She was in Juliette Lewis. Juliette Lewis plays the record producer, and then her son is Ryan Guzman. And so I think it's her son. Thought it was her son. And then yeah, the chick who plays Jim is like falling for him. Yeah, that was the last thing I saw. That's like way off track. What we're talking about. The Cleansing Hour. So what's the synopsis for this? Oh, this is like a live stream. A live stream exorcism goes viral in this bold modern take on demonic possession. Oh, that's the one we were talking about. Like, so if I'm right, this is people were staging an exorcism and filming it and claiming it to be real. Which these are a bunch of millennials, and all of a sudden, like a real demon comes into play.
Yeah.
And just, throws a whole, like a giant wrench into their shit, and now they're just kind of like, they're super fucked. They're like, because all this shit starts happening. This is one I wanted to see. I saw the trailer for it like a long time ago, and I thought it was super cool, like the whole idea over it, how that they were a bunch of charlatans and they were just passing it off like, oh yeah, we're exorcising demons and videoing it, and showing the world, and it was all bullshit until an actual real demon said, nah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna show you how it's done.
Well, it's a Shudder original, so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I need to get the pirate on this one. Definitely want to watch this one. I'll circle it so I know to ask him on Monday. All right, we're getting down to the nitty gritty here. One of the last couple movies. This one is called The Exorcism of God. This came out in 2021, so this is only 2 years old. Although I'm not really recognizing a lot of these people in the cast. Maria Gabriela de Frera. How would you pronounce her name? It looks like it's Iran, but it's got the accent above the A.
Iran
Yeah.
Castillo. Yeah.
Iran Castillo.
She's a telenovela actress. Mexican telenovelas.
Okay.
Yeah. She used to do a lot of like those where she's like a schoolgirl, falls in love with a rich boy or something. I didn't know she was doing things in Hollywood. I guess she's getting English speaking roles now.
Oh, good for her.
Yeah.
Joseph Marcel is in this. Everybody who's watched The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air would know who he is. He played the butler, Jeffrey.
Yes.
Very funny guy.
Absolutely.
He plays the father in this movie, so he's one of the priests. Will Beanbrick is the other priest. Maria Antonia Hidalgo is in this. I'm not sure who she is because there's no picture attached with it. Alfredo Herrera and Raquel Rojas. So some people I recognize, some people I don't. And then what is the synopsis of this movie? Peter Williams is an American priest in Mexico who is considered a saint by many local parishioners. However, due to a botched exorcism, he carried out a dark secret that's eating him alive until he gets the opportunity to face his own demon one last time. So that's The Exorcism of God. And our last one, that's next on the list here is a new one that's not even out yet, but we're going to play the trailer. And talk about it a little bit. This one is called The Pope's Exorcist. So this is a 2023 release. This one has Russell Crowe, Laurel Marsden, Frank Nero. You just talked about him
Frank
earlier.
Nero again.
Yeah, he plays the Pope in this one.
Oh wow.
Alex Esso, Ralph Inson, Palma Boyd, and Daniel Zavato. So some of these people I recognize who they are, and then some people I don't. But I watched the trailer for it the other day, and it looks really good. Russell Crowe looks like he does a really good job as the father, who's the head of exorcisms. So he plays Father Gabriel Amoth. Father Gabriel Amoth, chief exorcism for the Vatican, battles Satan and innocent possessing demons. Detailed portrait of a priest who performs more than 100,000 exorcisms in his life. It's a kind of a shitty synopsis.
I'd still the trailer looks really good, and I'm pumped for it. I'm definitely gonna watch that one when it comes out.
Yeah, this one from IMDb says portrayal of real life figure Father Gabriel Amoth. So I'm guessing he's a real figure or a real person, or he's based on a real person. A priest who acted as chief exorcist of the Vatican, who has performed more than 100,000 exorcisms in his lifetime. Yeah, the trailer itself is great. So I have it queued up here. I'll get it going right now. And everybody, if you want to watch it, check it out on YouTube. I'll have to go back to see what the release dates were set for it. But overall, like, it looks really good. So this is we'll get to listen to it right now.
Whatever you do, you only do because God allows it. Did you allow that?
Father Gabriele Amort. On the night of June 4th, you performed an exorcism.
That was not an exorcism.
He looks so
The
cool.
majority of cases do not require an exorcism.
Yeah, he looks old, but he still looks good.
98% are recommended by him to doctors and psychiatrists.
The other 2%, I call it evil.
We have more questions for you, Father Amort.
You have a problem with me? You talk to my boss, the Pope.
What's up,
There is a
gangster?
case that needs your attention.
Bring me the priest.
I'm here to help, Julia.
Wrong priest. Take caution. There are secrets buried there.
Is the Vatican sealed?
The church has fought against this demon before. The Vatican covered it up. We need to find out why. You've been played. You talk the fates. Whatever you do, you only do because God allows it. Did he allow that?
Imagine what could happen if the devil possessed the soul of the Pope's exorcist. Who will defend you?
My faith does not require defense.
That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, really cool.
The-
So we're gonna
the-
see it. I didn't know that the character that Russell Crowe plays was an actual person who existed.
Yeah, so I was saying earlier from what I was reading, it looked like it was based on an actual person, but I don't know if it was an actual person or if it was like loosely based on him.
Well, essentially, the movie's gonna take some liberties,
Yeah, as
embellishing
all,
some.
as all
but
movies do.
but the guy actually claimed to have performed tens of thousands of exorcisms throughout his life, and he was the founder, along with 5 other priests, of the International Association of Exorcists.
Yeah, that's super cool. Yeah, I've read a lot on these guys who perform exorcisms and like how they have evolved. Where it was so secretive, where nobody wants to know, or the Vatican didn't want anybody to know that it actually was happening. To now they're like advertising it, letting people know that they actually have a school there to teach priests. Like in that movie, the Devil Inside, where basically they have to figure out before they actually perform an exorcism, is this mental illness?
Yeah, a lot of tests have to be done, and you have to assess things. Yeah,
And usually the final word comes from the Vatican, where even if they have like the proof that they think it is demonic possession, the Vatican can still just say, no, we don't think it is. And then that's where, they have areas like where they took the mom of the girl that was doing the docuseries for the movie. Where they have them locked up in a hospital, where they have them like under surveillance, 24/7. Basically, have doped them up, to where they're not going to be a hindrance to themselves or to anybody else. Just enough to where, they're going to live their life until the body dies, and then I guess once the body dies, that's where they're going to figure out, like you said, even though the body may be dead, the demon who's possessing the person's still going to be living.
yeah,
In one form or another, but you'll obviously see it decay, to some point. Even with the person who's not dead and is possessed, they show that the body starts breaking down because of the possession. It's just all that evil is just like fucking you up from the inside out.
right, yeah, and it will show. It will show in your demeanor, your skin breaking down, the body just decaying.
Yeah. All right, so that was our list of movies that have exorcisms in them and the Exorcist series. That was a lot. From my count,
That was a lot of movies.
yeah, I have, including the 2 newest ones that are going to be coming out, The Exorcist 2023 and The Pope's Exorcist. There are 38 movies with exorcisms in them. That includes the Exorcist series. And then there was 2 TV series that had dealt with exorcisms, one being the Exorcist TV series and the Constantine series. Although now I'm wrong, because after this we're moving on to a comic that Ollin will share with us. This spun a TV series as well, and this series also has exorcisms in it. So there are 38 movies with exorcisms in them and 3 television series that deal with exorcisms. And then, without further ado, we're going to go from our exorcism series of movies and television to this comic that Ollin wants to tell us about.
Well, we're gonna have to sort of do like a comparison, because as you pointed out earlier, you watched the TV show, which I haven't seen.
Yeah, and then you read the comic, which I haven't read any of that series yet.
Right. I read the first story arc, which is mostly a setup for what is supposed to come From what I was able to glean out of just this first 6 issues, the possession is like a multi possession. There's like multiple demons, and there's like a whole, I guess, cabal of demons. So what we're talking about is Outcast, is the name of the comic book. Is written by Robert Kirkman, and the art is by Paul Azazzera. Kirkman, you may recognize from a little TV show and a small and even smaller comic book called The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Fairly unknown, you know.
Yeah.
But same guy.
Sounds unfamiliar. I'm not
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
what that's about.
It's probably just a fad. And so it's basically, again, more Robert Kirkman goodness, but this time dealing with demonic possessions, and basically follows the story of a man called Kyle Barnes, and he gets together with a man named John Anderson, who's a reverend. So Kyle Barnes has been plagued by demons, not only psychological and emotional demons, and the demons that he deals with in his everyday life. He has a problem with anger. He has to take anger management classes, things like that, because every time he has like a very short fuse, and there's a lot of violence that's always been in his life. And not only demons like that, but also actual demons that are always possessing the people closest to him, the people that he loves the most, and always alienating him from these people. When we meet him, he's living alone. He's going through a divorce. He wants to see his kid, but it makes it impossible because there was a history there of domestic violence. So he's dealing with all of these things. Meanwhile, we see Reverend John Anderson talking to his congregation, and also dealing with past exorcisms. He believes that he's performed exorcisms before, and that's something that he's very passionate about. We also meet Megan, who is the sister of Kyle, although they make it apparent that they're not like actually blood related, but she considers him her brother. She's married to a cop, and they have also kids of their own. Then we meet Allison Barnes, who's his estranged wife, and then Amber Barnes, who's his estranged daughter. And then we meet a character named Sydney, who's like in the first story arc, he's very mysterious. We don't know what's going on with him, but we kind of get that he's not a very good person. There's an old lady called Mildred who is possessed, and Reverend had believed that he had already purged the demon out of her, but we come later to find out that she's actually still possessed. And basically the first exorcism that we see is that of a little kid, a boy, and basically the exorcism turns so violent that the kid actually ends up hurt, and he ends up hurting both the Reverend and Kyle, and but the exorcism is successful, so the mom decides not to bring charges. When the police show up, they're trying to arrest Kyle, and she's like, no, he's the one that helped my son. My son is actually back.
So this is the first story arc of the comic series that you're reading?
Yeah.
So this is the same story so far that the TV series is following for season 1. I haven't watched season 2. There's only 2 seasons.
Okay.
But I watched almost all of season 1. I have 1 episode left. The last episode, obviously, I should have watched it. But I fell asleep last night, so I didn't get to watch it all the way through. But yeah, as so far, what Ollin's describing in the comic series is the exact same thing that's happening in the TV series. There's a couple more elements that happened, but I'll let him continue.
Yeah, in the comic book they show this part where in the exorcism there's like this black cloud that sort of comes out of like the possessed, and Kyle somehow is able to inhale it or absorb it, or just that's sort of how he excises the demon out of the person, is by sort of inhaling this black like cloud that comes out of them. Apart from the violence that it takes for him to actually rattle the demon out of the body.
Interesting, because in the TV show, it's the opposite. So the entities that are possessed, you can actually see them. Looks like they're trying to. I don't know what they're sucking out of him, like inhaling from his face.
Yeah.
Like Harry Potter, you know, the what are those? The Dementors.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
remember.
So how the Dementors are like, looks like they're pulling the soul. They almost look like the soul out of you. Or,
Yeah.
Or your essence. So they're doing the same thing in this. What he does is when he gets the black mass or cloud to come out of the being, it like looks like it tries to fight him or tries to go into him, but it's like repelled. Like it doesn't have the chance to get into him or have access to him, and then just eventually evaporates. So he doesn't inhale it or you know is breathing it in. It just basically comes out on its own after he does what he does, which I'll explain when I do mine.
So that he can't repossess the body.
Yes, exactly.
Because Kyle is there. Somehow
Yeah.
he's like a repellent for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so once it's out of the body, it dissipates and then disappears.
Right. In the comic book, the first time he's able to do this is with his mother. His mother was this abusive lady who would beat him up, and she had some sort of psychosis that she couldn't deal with. Eventually, when Kyle decides not to take it anymore, not to take one of her beatings anymore, he fights back and sort of puts her in like a catatonic state, and now she's in an institution where they look after her, but she's just like she's basically a vegetable, and they don't know if she's even conscious. It's not a coma, but she's in a catatonic state where she can't speak. She just sort of lays there.
Yeah, that's similar to the TV series.
And it wasn't clear to me by issue 6 if she's possessed or he was able to exorcise her, but that took a toll on her body, and now that's why she's the way she is.
So in the TV series, he's able to touch possessed people, and they have a reaction to his touch.
Right.
Is that the same in the comic?
Yeah, we don't see it with the mom, but we see this lady called Mildred, who's always like, keep that guy away from me. Like, whatever you do, don't bring that guy around because I don't like him. And then we see a scene where she stumbles and is about to fall, and Kyle tries to lift her up.
Yeah,
and
that's
when
also
when
on
he
the
when,
TV series.
when he touches her, she's like, ah, and
Yeah, she freaks out.
right. And then by the end of the story arc, we meet a guy named Norval, who's the Kyle's next door neighbor, and they have like a friendly sort of relationship. And Norval lets Kyle borrow his car and things like that. And Kyle comes back to thank him for his friendship, and we see that he's no longer there, and we see a guy named Sidney who claims to be his brother and claims that Norval passed away in his sleep, and that he's just there to get his things in order because of the passing of his brother. But we also get to see this guy Sidney talk to Mildred, and they have some sort of connection. But when they talk, it's like it's not them. It gave me the impression that it was the demons talking to each other. and we also see him visit Kyle's mom at the place where she's at, and telling her that now they have him, and that's the end of the story
Wow.
in the comics.
So up to the almost last episode of season 1, same thing. So that we find, so in the TV series, Patrick Fugit, you know him as the kid from Almost Famous, was writing the article for Rolling Stone.
That's right.
He's a little more grown up now. He plays the main character, Kyle Barnes. As we first find him, he's in his, we don't know where he's at. Like, he's in a house that's just littered with trash. Just looks like he just doesn't give a fuck. You know, looks like he just gave up. You know, it's just, that's the kind of, like, he's sleeping on the floor.
Yeah, he lives in his mom's old house, right?
Yeah. So we find out that that's his old house. From his mom, because of how mean and evil she was. What we get from the TV series is that she, not only does she like yell at him and try to beat him, but that she locks him in the closet. Like, there's a pantry. So there's a pantry in the kitchen. So she throws him inside of there and locks him in there. And so, like you said, he finally one day had enough, and had basically gotten to be free, and then somehow had got her to where he knocked her either unconscious or down, and then that priest, John Anderson, supposedly helped exorcise the demon out of her. And then, she's in a catatonic state pretty much the entire first season. She's in a hospital. At one point, he was finally getting himself back together, and because he's going on these missions with John Anderson to exorcise people or to make sure that they're still exorcised. And he kind of he decides that he doesn't want his mom being in this hospital, and he takes her home. And then when the priest comes by, and he's basically yelling at him, what the fuck you think you're gonna do? You're gonna take care of your mom? She's got 24-hour care at this place, and you're not going to be able to afford that type of care, or not afford. You're not going to be able to provide that type of care for her. So then they end up taking her back to the hospital without charges being pressed against him. But because of his situation with his ex-wife and kid, I don't know. I can't. It's the ex-wife. The ex-wife basically is separated from him because he and the priest had to exorcise the demon out of her. She was possessed, and then he beat the demon out of her.
Right.
And then so because people don't understand the exorcism part, and the priest couldn't really get the people to understand his side of the story. Now he's got this forepaw against him in the town. Like, everybody in the town fucking hates him, doesn't want anything to do with him. Like, when they're see him, they're like, oh, that's Kyle Barnes. Like, they know who he is right off the bat.
The wife beater.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not said, but you could see it on their face and their body language. He's very standoffish to everybody, and that's why he kind of separated himself as that person.
Yeah. Also, I think he feels like if somebody becomes close to him, the demons are gonna want to target that person, right?
I didn't get that from the first season.
Okay.
So maybe in the second season when I watch it, but I won't know until I just see it. But as for the first season, I don't see that at all. And his sister, who's played by Ren Schmidt, she plays Megan Holter. And you're right, she is not his sister by blood. So after the mom was put in a catatonic state, he was put in one of those homes, wayward homes for children.
Okay.
And they ended up being not adopted together, but he was put in a home with her. And because he lived there for so long with her, eventually just thought of each other as brother and sister
Yeah.
because they're in a two-family society, a two-family environment. There's a mother and a father, and then they have all these kids. So obviously they're all going to be your foster, your brother and kids and sisters and stuff. But she obviously became very close to him because she still is looking out after him. She was checking in on him before he started, cleaning himself up and going on these runs with the father. And then so he basically tried to befriend Kyle to help him on his journey, because now he's thinking that everybody that he has exorcised has not actually been exorcised. So he's trying to do a redo on all these people. So
Right.
he's taking Kyle with him, since Kyle has this touch. So
ability,
when he touches people, he's able to see if they're still possessed or not, because these people freak out when he touches any part of their skin with his skin. And then the way he gets the demons out is through his blood in the TV show. So
Oh,
it's
interesting.
not so much like his touch or him beating the demon out of people.
Oh, so if it gets bloody.
So he was with the kid. He got cut. So that first exorcism that he was doing with the priest, or with that father on that little boy, or the mom didn't press charges because her son got freed from the demon.
Yeah.
He got cut, and then the blood somehow got in the kid's mouth, and then that's where you see that black cloud and smoke come out of the kid, and it's all over the room trying to find another host, basically.
Okay.
Is what it looked like. And then Kyle's basically there to be the block. He was the cock block for it to not jump in the priest or get back into the kid's body. And then because it's out of the body for, I'm guessing, for so long of a period of time, then it just evaporates.
Dissipates. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because it can't maintain a solid form, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
The neighbor Norville, he gets in contact with Kyle. Kyle, I guess, needs a car and goes over and talks to him because he's offered his car, I think, once before, is what the story arc was telling us. And then we kind of see them, talking and trying to be friends and stuff like that. And so he borrows his car a couple times. And then on the last time that he borrows his car, I think he went to go try to either borrow it again, or he saw there was a light on in the house, late night, and he went over to go talk to him. And as he entered his domicile, he was laying on a chair and looked like he had committed suicide.
Oh, shit. So you actually see the body and everything.
Yeah, you see the body, you see
Okay.
the blood on the floor, you see there's a note. So the story with him is that his wife had just recently passed away. So I'm guessing that he was, heartbroken from his loss.
Yeah.
And then was probably reaching out to Kyle to be a friend. And I think Kyle eventually decided that he would be friends with him, hang out with him, talk to him, and those type of things. And I think he went over to go check on him, and being, that this is his new friend, and then found him.
Oh, man.
And then that Brent Spiner's character, Sydney. So Sydney's portrayed by Brent Spiner. We all know him from Star Trek: The Next Generation. He played Data,
Yep.
among other things that he was in. But he plays this mysterious preacher-looking character. Not necessarily a preacher. He was portrayed as in the TV series, although in the outline of the main cast, it says he's a mysterious preacher, but he was never preaching anything in this first season.
Yeah.
He shows up at the funeral claiming to be a friend of him, and then going through his stuff at his house and basically just taking up residence in the house as a place to stay, because he's there for Kyle and whatever plan that is going on. He has interactions with the Mildred character, and I understand what you're saying. It does seem like the two entities that are in the bodies were talking to each other, opposed
Yeah.
to Sydney and Mildred talking to each
Right,
other.
Right.
Mildred's daughter is very standoffish, doesn't want anybody really talking to her mom, doesn't believe in the whole exorcism thing, thinks it's all BS and just thinks her mom's just looking for attention. He's got a restraining order against him from his wife and kid. He's trying to find a way to reconcile with his wife so he could be with his kid again, to have both of them in his life. Asks the sister to try and be involved into it, and she volunteers a little bit, and then when the wife is very like standoffish and like, no, I don't want anything to do with it, and then she tells him, she said no, and I'm not going to push the envelope anymore. That was it. That was your chance. But because of her possession, now he thinks that she might have, the possession in her still, that the priest didn't do his job. So he's
going to be like one part of one of the redos.
That's
maybe
what
in the future.
Yeah, that's what they're thinking. But he's saying fuck everybody else, fuck your list. And he was like, and he went to her house. He like broke his restraining order, and then found a way to touch her, like her arm, grab her arm to see how she would react. And he was kind of iffy because he didn't really know. And then she shows up at his house like later that week, and then they talk and like they hug, and that's when he realizes that she's not possessed. But it seems like there's a possession that might be happening with the daughter, that either she's possessed, like maybe it jumped from her to the daughter, or the daughter is being possessed slowly, because we see different things and weird things with the daughter that just kind of don't add up.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, then it does kind of add up, where they could be possessions. But like I said, I haven't seen the last episode, so I can't really be for sure.
Yeah.
Plus, they're continuing characters through the series, through both seasons. So the story arc could be going further into the next season. The cop that's the sister's husband, he's kind of an asshole.
Yeah, it gave me the impression that he did not like Kyle at all.
Yeah, does not like Kyle at all. Even though Kyle was the one, so there was an instance that happened in the house of the fostering with her and another kid, and Kyle was the one who basically was the buffer between the two. So he basically got his ass beat, from this kid, but was there to protect her from anything happening to her. So he you hear him talk about how he slept in the room with her, like on the floor next to her bed. So that way the other kid wouldn't come in and do whatever he was doing or was going to do to her. So that's how she feels like she's connected to him.
Do you see him again in the TV series?
Who, the guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he is also. He's it's a big story arc with her and her story.
Because he comes back to town, right? At some point.
Yeah, he comes back to town.
He's another guy that's like trying to make amends and
that's what
that's
what it seems like. But she's so messed up from it, like she can't see that. And then the husband, who's he's a cop, so he's got that macho ego. He stops the guy outside of town because the guy decides that she tells him to leave, and he finally just heeds what she says and packs up and leaves. And then he stops the guy outside of town because he found out what happened and he was the guy.
Yeah.
And just basically pummeled him to death, not to death, but pummeled him to put him in the hospital.
Yeah, beats him up.
And then he calls her, and then she goes to the hospital where he's at, and he's like, yeah, your husband did this to me. And she's like, bullshit. And then she has to confront him and be like, why'd you do this?
Yeah.
And then there is the chief of police. He's got a big story arc. He is a character actor too, Reg E. Cathy. You would know him from the second Fantastic Four movie. He played the father of Sue and Johnny Storm.
Yeah, okay.
So he was the actor who played their father.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's been in a lot of stuff. Really good actor. But he's putting together his own thing. So the priest, or not the priest, the father, John Anderson, and then the chief of, what would you call it? Fire chief. So there's chief of police and the fire chief. So they all play poker together. And it's like a regular thing. So that's one of the scenes that you see them playing. So there's something going on with the fire chief. And then so the chief of police is putting together an investigation that has him, the fire chief, at the center of it. So this guy, they've been friends for a very long time. Something's going on, and obviously he didn't involve the police chief in it. So now he's thinking that he's hiding some shit, and he's like trying to piece it together, and not letting the fire chief know that he's like doing an investigation on him. So that's another story arc that's happening in this first season.
Okay, so there's a few more subplots.
Yeah, there's quite a few subplots happening in season 1 amongst the actual exorcisms that are happening with Kyle and Father Anderson. But overall, a great series.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
I would definitely recommend it. And from what you described from the comics, it sounds like they're pretty well in comparison. Obviously with TV and movie, they, like we said earlier, there's liberties.
Yeah.
They change a few things to make it a little more interesting.
Yeah, like that scene with the guy in the comic book. They both beat him. Well, first Kyle finds him first and punches him in the mouth, and the cop guy, the husband, comes in like, what the fuck's going on? At first he tries to arrest Kyle, but then he sees the other guy and he's like, oh, is that the guy? And Kyle's like, yeah, that's the guy. And so that's when he pummels him. So a little bit different, but
yeah. So that scene in the TV series is she tells her husband about that guy because they're on their date night, and then the guy just happens to recognize her at the restaurant.
Oh.
And then she was just like freaking out.
So Kyle was not involved at all.
Kyle was not involved, and
Okay.
then she didn't say anything to the cop or to her husband. And then I forgot how it was brought up. I don't know if she brought it up or it was brought up out of... Somehow it was brought up where she just tells him about it and then says, yeah, that guy was the guy. And then he pulls into town, sees Kyle walking, tells Kyle to get in the car. They go to a bar, sit down at the bar, and then he tells Kyle to tell him all about that guy and what happened.
Oh.
So Kyle, tells him.
Tells you the story.
Yeah, it tells you
Okay.
the story. That's where you get because she didn't tell him, all about Kyle being her protector type deal, and then sleeping in the room, making sure that he didn't come back in there or anything like that. And then he finds that out. So now he's got a whole new picture of Kyle, like, oh, maybe you're not an asshole.
Yeah.
But still iffy about, what he did to his wife.
Yeah.
But as for like, his wife, he was like looking at him in a whole new light.
Okay.
And then that's where he's like, that's where you see his mind going like, oh, I'm going to find this guy and, beat the shit out of him.
Right.
And that's what you see. You see him pulling him over. You see him pulling him out of the car, and then just beating the shit out of him.
Damn. All right.
Yeah. So really interesting, really cool. And then with Sydney's character, I don't know if he's a demon or the devil. I could take it as either or, the way
Yeah.
they're portraying him in the TV series. He could either be, the devil incarnate himself, or he could be just a really high up demon,
Right.
that the other possessed souls, are going to.
Yeah, sort of like a general.
Yeah.
in a demon army.
Yeah. So he's the guy. He's the guy in control, and he's the guy in power right now.
Yeah.
That has all the other ones answering to him. So that's where we're at with the TV series. So
That's cool. Yeah, well, now I really want to watch the TV series.
Yeah,
Looks like it's a good adaptation.
yeah, I can't wait to read the comics too, because I'd like to see the comparison between the two, like how you explained it. Obviously, there's some subtle differences, and then there's some big differences, but yeah, I'd like to see how much of season 1 is actually in that story arc, and then how many of the other story arcs are in season 1.
Yeah.
Because there's some stuff that you didn't describe that were in season 1 that you didn't say that were in the comics. So
Yeah, the way you described it, it sounds like, because I read this story arc, I hunted down the single issues, the first 6, but I also saw this hardcover that collects issues 1 through 12, which the way you described the pacing of the seasons, it looks like season 1 and 2 are going to be the first 12 issues, which you can get just all in one edition, one hardcover edition, wherever books can be found.
yeah, that's how I'm probably gonna buy it. I won't buy the individuals. I'll just buy the one trade.
Yeah.
The one trade.
It's too much work finding all the individual issues.
Yeah, especially this was released back in 2014.
Yeah, they're still around, but yeah, it's better to just grab. I feel like this story in general would benefit from like an omnibus that just collects the whole thing. 48 issues. I think if you're
Yeah.
able to just read them all together, it's better than collecting even just the trade paperbacks. I think just the whole thing collected would be really great.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Yeah, I suggest you guys go check it out if you could find it. It's actually being sold on Amazon as season 1 and season 2. You can purchase it there. You could probably find it on download. You could probably look it up online to see if it's actually being aired anywhere else. It originally ran on Cinemax, filmed in a 1080i format. So what year did it come out in? 2016. So it came out 2 years after the comic came out. So not bad. 2 seasons, 20 episodes. So there's 10 episodes per season. Great cast. Story arc right now is really, really well off. I quite enjoyed season 1. I can't wait to finish it with that last episode, and then check out season 2. So that was Outcast TV series and comics. You have anything else for Exorcism movies or Exorcist series?
I was listening to a band that you recognize, Marduk, and one of their songs uses the sound clip from the first Exorcism movie, the scene, the masturbation scene, the scene everybody hates, and they used it as part of their song, and I thought it was really cool.
Oh, that's cool.
But yeah, just to finalize, I wanted to give my scores for the movie, the Exorcist movies. Obviously, the first one, that's a 5 out of 5 stabs for me. Exorcist 2, I gave it a 2 out of 5 stabs.
That's what I would say, probably 2, because it was somewhat interesting. It was creative, not
Yeah.
interesting. It was creative, but other than that, it just fell short.
Yeah. For number 3, I gave it 3 out of 5. And Exorcist the Beginning, I gave it a 2 out of 5.
Oh, wow. And then Dominion.
Well, that's the one I did not watch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I stopped at Exorcist the Beginning.
Got it.
This is where I fell off.
Okay. Well, there you have it. That's our take on Exorcist and the Exorcism movies. We also like to touch on a couple other things. So if you're into horror like we are, obviously you're listening to our podcast. You can watch a lot of good scary movies, horror movies, thrillers, supernaturals all the time through Shudder.com. Shudder.com is a subscription-based entity that you can watch all these movies on. You can have a 7-day free trial for it. Otherwise, plans start at $4.75 a month, where you can cancel at any time. We are not being sponsored by this, but I did think that you guys should know about it. If you don't know, now you know. And we've been touching on this every podcast. Slasher.tv is a horror app similar to like Twitter, and it's going to be close to like Facebook in that aspect. And then they're going to be doing a social network that's going to be almost on comparison to like Facebook coming up here in the winter. So if you go on there, you can put your name and your email address and send it to them. Let them know that you're interested. They're trying to compile enough people to see if it's even worth building or not. But they're overall right now through the app itself, they have quite the following, and there's a lot of people, and I've been adding people to my account almost on a daily basis. You know, onesie twosies here and there, but it's cool. You know, all these people are really interesting. You know, it's a horror network for people who love horror. So if you're into it and you want to check it out, slasher.tv, it's available at the App Store or on the Play Store for both your phones and for your tablets and iPads. And then for all of our social media, if you want to follow us, we are on Instagram, we are on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Tumblr. You can listen to the podcast on YouTube. You can follow the podcast on all podcasting networks. Easiest way to get to it is on Anchor.fm, which now has changed their name to Spotify or Podcast by Spotify. Or you can go right to our website. And then on our website, we have Last Rites. And when you click on that, that brings up all of the episodes of our podcasts. And then our website is www.thehorrorscene.com. Also there we have a rating system for our movies. At least this is mine. I still got to figure out Ollin's and put his on here, because it's not fair just to have mine on here as a bias. So my top 10 horror movies right now, since we spoke about The Exorcist, is listed at number 5. But I'll get Ollin's compiled on here, and that way we have both of ours so you guys can compare. If you have different likes or different top 10 lists, you can always send it in to us at any of our social media outlets. Or you can go on to our website where the death certificate drop down is, and then leave your comment with your top 10 list there. Music for our podcast is brought to you by a band named Zao, Z-A-O. You can find them online at Zao Online. And to our unofficial sponsor, Liquid Death, we would like to salute you guys. We try to give you guys a shout out at every podcast that we can. Liquid Death has branched out with more options now. Not only do they have their mountain water and sparkling water, which are in their black and white cans, but they added another flavor of sparkling water. Remember how we talked about they have Buried Alive, Mango Chainsaw, and Severed Lime? Well, now they have a new one called Convicted Melon.
Nice.
Yeah. And so those are just the sparkling waters with the flavors. But they've also branched out upon once more with teas. So they have 3 new teas out there. The first is, I'm guessing it's a black tea. We really couldn't figure it out, but we think it's a black tea. It's called Grim Leafer. And then they have a peach tea, which is called Rest in Peach. And then they have their version of the Arnold Palmer, which is called Armless Palmer. All the artwork on the boxes is super cool, and all the cans are unique looking. All the cans are different colors. So it seems like they're going through the rainbow here, you know, making all their different flavors.
Looks awesome, especially the artwork for that Rest in Peach. It looked like something I would like to get tattooed or something, because it looks really cool.
Yeah, it's super cool. Yeah, all the boxes have original artwork on the back of them. So on one side has the logo of what the can is, and on the back side it has some kind of artwork. And I'm not sure who does their artwork, or if these are individually contracted artists that do them. But
They're amazing.
Yeah, hats off to you guys for that, because that's super cool. It's very interesting looking. And it's not the run of the norm looking box. It's cool that you guys took the time to do something different with your guys' stuff to make you stand apart. Which also they stand apart too by wanting everybody to recycle. That's the key. So death to plastic. Make sure you guys murder your thirst with these cans, because these are all aluminum cans that are easily recyclable, as to where plastic is not. And their hashtag is Death to Plastic. They donate 10% of all their profits. For every can sold to help kill plastic pollution. So do your guys' part, especially the horror community. This is a cool can for that. Even in the rock community, this is pretty much the staple at every rock show that you go to. If you're looking for water, they don't do bottled water anymore. At least most places don't. Everything's like the cans of water. This was a big thing too, like during the hurricanes. I see a lot of companies like Budweiser. They'll instead of canning their beer, they're canning water and sending it to those locations for first aid and for help. So
that's awesome.
I'm guessing that's probably where maybe they got the idea from, or it was inspired loosely on that. But yeah, easily recyclable can, doesn't fuck up the community or the environment. It's a no-brainer. So here's to you, Liquid Death.
Good stuff.
Liquid Death. Mountain water. That's right. Death to plastic. Murder your thirst. All right. Well, I hope you guys liked listening to the podcast today, all about exorcisms. If you guys have any comments or requests or criticisms and stuff like that, please drop us a line. Let us know that you're out there and you're listening. Let all your friends know about the podcast. Just remember to stay creepy, keep it spooky. So from our grave to yours, these have been your last rites.
This is last.